Jordan, and this is Yes, But Why podcast. Yeah.
So when I was I was 14, I had moved to Charlotte, North Carolina from Pennsylvania, and I used to watch Whose Line with my mom all the time, and she found a newspaper ad for improv classes. So she randomly signed me up for it, and she drove me to the classes when I was 14 and dropped me off, and I haven't stopped since. So that's the first time I ever did anything theater related. I took some acting or theater classes in like middle school and stuff, but the first time I ever really dove into it was when she dropped me off at the Charlotte Comedy Theater when I was 14.
Wow. And it was her idea?
Yeah. Like I said, we watched Whose Line Is It Anyway together, and I love that show, and I guess maybe I'd expressed interest in theater classes in middle school and whatnot. But yeah, she's the one that just signed me up for it. And it was an adult class, so I was the only kid in the class. And it was,
Really?
Yeah, it was pretty crazy. Everybody was like smoking and drinking when I showed up and cursing. And my mom was like, all right, bye.
I like the image of that. Like, I like the idea of like in front of a comedy club and there's just like 5 guys in leather jackets just with like 3 cigarettes in each hand, and they're like also drinking a beer, and they're like, hey kid, welcome to improv class. Like, that's what I imagined.
So you were there is what you're saying, basically. That's exactly what happened. Yes.
That's all. Isn't that everyone's? I feel like that's how you get into an improv club. Like, it's if you can get through those guys,
yeah,
then you can go.
And I did. And so that's why I'm here today.
Oh my God, so you were a kid in an adult class. I've taught a lot of kids in adult classes, and I'm fascinated to know, like, what your experience was being with the, like, I don't know. In my mind, when you're 14, you're still of true improv form, like baby angel improv form, before you're ruined. And then you have to relearn it. So I wonder, how did you? Well, no, I have multiple questions, but let's talk first about the class.
Sure. Yeah. It was wonderful. I remember being a little bit overwhelmed, but just the second the class started, I was in heaven. The second we started playing games and, yeah, it was just, and I always hung out with my parents or the neighbors or adults. So I just kind of naturally fit in, I think, and making adults laugh when you're 14 there's just something super rewarding about it. I really loved it. I think I'm so happy that I had that experience. I think it made me grow up a little bit quicker. I think it made me, a better improviser in the long run. Yeah, it was.
I'm sure
it
made you grow up quicker because 20-somethings don't care. But
right.
but were you okay? There were no and I don't know how old you are, so maybe this reference is gonna go over your head. But there were no ABC after school special moments where you were in a hallway and people were like, "Hey man, you want to do these drugs?" And you're like, "I don't know." Did that happen?
I did a lot of cocaine when I was 14, but I was the one offering it, so that might have been why I was popular there.
The Charlotte scene, SNL, so much coke everywhere.
No, other people, partook, if you will. But the head of the theater there, Kelly Semmelsberger, she's a Chicago improv vet, and she started the theater 20 years ago. She became a second mom to me. Certainly didn't necessarily shield me from stuff, but she was protective and took care of me, and the whole place felt like, they were very respectful of me being a kid, and they took me under their wing, which was nice. I knew of things that might have been going on, but it wasn't anything too crazy.
Yeah, I mean, you can shelter yourself as much as you like. I shelter myself a lot in improv circles because I'm older. You know what I mean? Like, my improv life has been my 30s, so I'm like in a crowd of 20-somethings who are, lovely and gentle, and I like to think of them as sweet. And then one of them says something in front of me about some sort of crazy thing or like some sort of drug or like dangerous thing that they're doing. And I'm like, what? You've got to be careful. Don't you know that? And then I'm like, okay, I'm cool. It's fine.
Yeah.
That's crazy, man. That's what I meant.
Yeah.
That's what I meant. Wild.
Yeah.
Don't get arrested, please.
My mom told me that I could, because it was a pretty blue theater, and a lot of cursing and sex-related jokes constantly. My mom said I could say and do anything as long as I don't know if I can curse on this podcast, but
curse, go ahead.
My mom said I could do or say anything I want as long as I don't say fuck or cunt.
Seems like a solid rule.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So.
Makes sense.
I still try to abide by that rule as much as possible.
Sure. I'm of the mind that you truly have to earn your swearing. So people love to swear, you're right. Especially like intro improvisers, like level 1 classes. Oh my God, their recitals are just fraught with the F-bomb. And you're all like, okay, relax everybody, take a breath. But like whenever it comes up, and I like to bring it up because I'm the mom, And I'm like, all right, guys, I know that you want to swear, and that's fine. Go right ahead, but make sure you're earning it. We got 3 beats in this puppy. Don't just open with an F-bomb. What are you going to say at the 3rd beat? So that's my mom way of making them not swear as much.
I think that's good. That's great.
Thank you for your support. Really.
Anytime.
That.
Yeah.
Man, it's super wild that you started improv so young. I legitimately thought you were going to say like you took like a kids class, because I've also taught kids classes of people in there that are 14, 15. So It's super interesting that it was just a bunch of like, gross older dudes with the leather jackets and the cigarettes.
You were there.
I know. And now I don't know how old you are, but can I say, is this in the 90s?
I'm 29.
So this is yesterday?
So this was about 2 weeks ago.
Good.
2003 then would have been when I started, yeah.
I'm just like reshaping the leather jacket. I'm just like reshaping how a leather jacket. Also, I'll stop with the anti-20-somethings thing.
I don't know.
Sorry.
That's okay.
Did you say jean jacket?
I don't know, but I'm not cool.
I don't know. In my world, you are. You started improv at 14. That seems pretty cool.
Oh, okay. I'll be cool then.
Great.
Yeah, thank you.
Why do you say on that?
This is exciting.
Oh, man. And what I feel like I've said this to adults before, that like when you move to a new city, a great way to meet people is to go find a theater and then just, be there forever. Until you move to the next one. But at the same time, like, I don't know. I guess I just never thought it would happen. And I'm like I said, I also know people I taught people that were 16 in my level 1 classes, stuff like that. So interesting. So fascinating. So you grew up doing theater. What a great way to get acclimated to a new town. You made adult friends. Were you able to make any kid friends, like when you were in high school?
Well, this is a dark period of my life, high school. Then I guess if we're going to go into that.
Yeah.
No, I'm just kidding. I was in some theater classes, and I had some friends in high school. I didn't. it was a really big school. Like my class had like 800 students in it, and
Oh,
my best friend in high school is still my best friend today, though, so that's pretty cool.
well, that is nice.
But I actually the Kelly still runs the Charlotte Comedy Theater. She sent me this notice for an audition for some pre-professional teen acting program at the Children's Theater of Charlotte. It's like this year-long intensive, and on a whim, I auditioned for it and I got in. So I did that for 2 years. So that's where I got introduced to like actual theater. Like we met every week, we learned acting techniques, we put on shows at the Children's Theater, and that's where a lot of my high school age friends came from, was that program.
What a great program.
Yeah, it was awesome.
Yeah. So was it like just every day after school, or was it like just summers, or both?
So it was during the entire school year. We would meet on Saturday and Sunday, and then once we got to where we were putting on shows, we would rehearse every night for like a couple months while we put the show up.
Wow.
Yeah, it was a great program. Taught me work ethic. I may have forgotten some of that, but it did teach me that at one point.
I believe we
Fell
have
in love
to
with the
learn
theater
and
at that
relearn
point.
all the things.
Yeah,
Yeah, you have to keep relearning every little thing, which is a darn shame.
it is.
You think you got something locked down, you move on to the next thing, and you're like, wait, what?
Yeah, apparently only, I guess that doesn't apply to bicycle riding, apparently, but everything else.
I don't know. When was the last time you got on a bike? Like, if you were to get on a bike like today, would you be like super comfortable? I mean, like, I could do it, but would I love it?
Are love and do the same thing? I mean,
No.
yeah. I could get on a bike. I probably wouldn't love it, but I'd probably excel at it.
Oh, you'd excel. Wow. I don't think excel and do are the same thing either.
I mean, we're talking like a flat surface, right, where I don't have to go uphill or anything. Then
No,
I
it's
would
not like
excel.
you're going on a race or something. It's not
Sure.
like, here you are.
Yeah, I
Get
have a
going.
bike.
Like those, are you one of those guys who wears like the full outfit, the full like spandex outfit?
There's nothing really full about that outfit. Like, I get what you're saying. And that's the reason I didn't want a video on this, because I'm wearing it right now. Just kind of my loungewear.
It seems like it's really comfortable.
Yeah, it's great, I would imagine. No, I've never worn that.
Very breathable.
Yeah.
Actually, I guess it has to be. I used to have a coworker who lived super far away from where we worked and yet rode his bike into work. So he left at like 6 to get there at 8:30. It was like, relax, bro. And he rode his bike all the way there in the full on outfit. And then he would go into the men's room, change into like a polo and khakis, and then drape the thing that he wore on his body on the wall of his cubicle, as if we're not all in the same room.
Oh, God.
Like, put it in the men's room and make the men be mad. There's only 5 of them. Come on.
Ugh. That's
I don't know
horrible
why. It was a
story.
call center, and you'd think there'd be more, like, gender equality somehow, but no, there were 5 dudes and, like, 25 ladies. I don't know. Anyway, all I'm saying is those things are unusual, and I'm sorry that I'm, making fun of the outfit you're currently wearing.
It's fine. But don't knock until you try it, though, is all I would say.
Yeah. You can't see me either. I'm not. I feel like everything about that says already wet wetsuit to me.
I think you're on to some marketing campaign for them, actually.
Yeah, nothing will sell it like that. People be like, sign me up. I'm looking for a difficult time to put on my clothes. Actually, who am I kidding? It would totally appeal to women. They wear bras and pantyhose, so yeah, they're into it.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're like, a Spanx takes me 45 minutes to get into. I'll wear the wetsuit. I feel like I've let us off track. Anyway, let's go back to you doing theater. Yeah, you doing theater. You're doing theater. It's high school fun stuff. What kind of plays and stuff did your theater program put up?
So I did it for 2 years, and there were 2 different directors and teachers, and they each did a play a season. So we did 4. The first play I was ever in was the Arabian Nights, which was fun. Then we did a really serious play about a local creep in a town, the Rhymers of Eldritch. What else did I do? Then we did Scapino, which was a
that
comedian.
Should be a popular one right now.
What?
I feel like that one should be a popular one going around regional theaters right now. Would you guys like to put on a play about a creeper and everyone in the audience can be united in disliking a single person? Yes. Let's do it. Sorry.
I hope that's happening. No. And then I did a Commedia dell'arte, and a classical Greek play. So it was a whole...
Ooh, what was the classical Greek play? I went to a college that was all classically Greek.
Alcestis.
Ooh, fun.
Yeah, so fun.
Oh, yeah.
Definitely really resonated with us high schoolers.
It's so dense. It's like Shakespeare, like Shakespeare is the like fart and dick jokes of its time, but right now it's like, I cannot figure out what this is,
Yeah.
Same with these Greek guys. These are the assholes on the side who don't have the ability to go running off into battle, or are of breeding enough to just be the king to go off into battle for me. That's fine. Or alternately, the other option for jobs here in ancient Greece is dude that pontificates quite a bit, and there's a couple of them that are really cornering that market, right? So What are you gonna do? So, they're theater people from every time. They're making jokes. It was probably terrible. It was probably disgusting and terrible, and you guys just didn't realize it. You were just saying the worst, gross things. It was like all boob jokes, and you just didn't know.
Yeah, I'm certain of it. In hindsight, yeah.
Have you ever read like a book that you were made to read in junior high or college or something like that? Something that maybe at the time you were just like, whatever, and you kind of like got through it. But then, you went back to it and reread it, and turned out it was totally about something different than what you thought.
That is a great question. I don't know, mainly because I never really read the things I was assigned. So maybe
you gonna read that. Now?
I mean, I read now sometimes.
Are you going to read those?
It's not that I can't read, okay? You don't need to keep pushing me. I can read. Okay.
Oh, no, I believe you're literate.
I can read.
Oh, all right. Sure. Sure. Whatever.
I'm just saying. I could read right now if you wanted me to.
I'll make it the title of the post if you'd like. Kevin Shimko can read. That's the name of the episode.
I've read books, yes.
Too much.
But I don't know if I can.
Read books.
I don't know if I can answer your question, though. I'll say that.
Well, like, for instance, Wuthering Heights is a book that I read in high school, and I remember at the time being all, like, gushy-gushy about how they were in love and everything like that. Like, oh, my God, these two people, they're star-crossed. I wish they could be together, And then when I read it later, I was like, ugh, God, will these two stop complaining? Walk across the damn street and do it with your neighbor. You want to? God. It made me so, I don't know, my viewpoint. And then I wondered, is that why they make us read it in high school? Because if they suggested it to us as, older people, we'd be like, nah, these people are dumb. I have no interest in this. Same with like Romeo and Juliet. Like, how many times
I was just about to say, Romeo and Juliet would be my answer. Yeah, for sure. Bunch
You're
of
like,
idiots.
guys, relax.
Stupid.
Like, give it a minute.
Yeah. If I
Also,
would have
like,
stabbed myself over somebody from high school, can you just
Right?
imagine that?
Also, like, how, like, okay, like, let's be honest. You're gonna do what your parents don't want you to do. It's
Yeah.
fine.
Yeah.
They kind of already understand that. They'll be super mad. Don't get me wrong. Oh, yeah. But they're not really, really mad. And at the time, banishment, what did that really mean? I mean, where were you going? 2 feet away? Like, come on. Come on.
Have you ever been banished?
I mean, I've moved a lot. Is that the same?
Yeah, that counts. You've been banished.
I banished
You've
myself.
self-banished. Yeah, it's
that's
a
what I do.
self-banishing.
I just disappear. I finish gigs, and I disappear.
That's always good.
One time I moved out of an apartment at night.
That's really sketchy.
Yeah, I wanted to be sketchy.
You just
I wanted
everything
to
you
wake
moved
up and be
out
like,
was
what the fuck?
everything you moved out was in garbage bags.
Oh, 100%.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, it was that time in my life for sure. After you did this theater program, did you have you done other? They call it this. I didn't invent this phrase. Straight theater. After like you graduated high school, did you do straight theater? Following, there's going to be a new hip woke word for that, but I'm going to keep saying it. In the post high school world.
Yeah, I went to college up in New York. I went to Marymount Manhattan College where I got a BFA in acting, where I learned acting. I'm classically trained, if you will.
How's Marymount?
It's good. Very expensive. Still paying it off.
Sure.
So that part sucks, but it was a great acting program. I did a lot of straight plays in college, and then after I graduated, I did a lot. Actually, ended up doing a lot of Shakespeare after I graduated. And
like in New York?
Yeah, I worked at a couple smaller theater companies. Did some Shakespeare in the Park. I worked at American Globe, The Pearl, and yeah, and then
That's fun.
yeah, it was a lot of fun. I actually miss doing it. I've done some theater since I moved back to Charlotte, but I haven't done Shakespeare in a while. I haven't done I've mainly done work at the Children's Theater here. It's all good, but I like to get back into it a little bit more straight plays and stuff like that.
I mean, Shakespeare in New York City, though, that's like a bucket list thing for sure.
Yeah.
That's like,
Yes.
Okay, well, I've done that, so.
I got to have a sword fight outside in a park, so that's pretty cool.
Yeah, it's awesome.
Yeah.
That's super cool. Fun. How many years did you live in New York City?
About 7 or 8. I went up there when I was 18 and then left when I was 26. Yeah, 25 or 26.
Right on.
So I went there for college for 4 years, and then I stayed afterwards for a bit. Did theater, and I was a member of the People's Improv Theater, the Pit. That's where I took more improv classes and workshops, and got on some house teams and indie teams at the Pit.
Wow. That must have been an interesting experience to go to another improv school, because I imagine they make you go through from the beginning.
Right, yeah.
But having had so much experience when you were younger, what was that like to do the Pit program?
Well, being a college student, it was hard to afford those improv classes, so it took me a lot longer to go through the program than I wanted. But yeah, I mean, there was a part of you that's like, I really got to take level 1 again and whatnot, but ultimately I'm glad that I did. The program was great. The teachers I had were really wonderful. I learned long form in Charlotte. Like Kelly taught long form as far as her teaching style was, it was about characters, and we learned the montage, the basics of long form there. But it was at the Pit where that's all I did, because the shows that we did in Charlotte were all short form. Um,
Oh.
and even in my college performance group, most of what we did was short form as well. So once I was able to get into the Pit, they have a very like the UCB is kind of more of the game style. The Pit is more focused on like characters and whatnot, and that's something I really resonated with. So I really enjoyed the program.
The people that I know that do stuff at the Pit are, people that have characters or that have like a storytelling show.
Yeah.
Or like, I hear about sketch, even though it's improv, but I hear about sketch teams that have been born there.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah, I like that. I think maybe part of it is like with my experience in theater, I just like that it felt more like theater to me than just straight up comedy. I don't know. It was just kind of nice to have a nice variety of different types of performances and whatnot there.
Yeah, I mean, it sounds like you were really like soaking up all the theater when you lived in New York City. Very solid.
Yeah, I tried.
Yeah.
I certainly miss that.
Sure. But, I mean, New York is not something that everyone can do forever. I mean, it is an energy that fights back from you.
Yeah.
It doesn't want you there. And
That's
it makes sure
very
you
true.
feel like you should leave regularly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's what I got to that point where I was like, I got to get the hell out of here. Plus, I couldn't afford it anymore. It's just so
Sure.
expensive. But yeah, it's a hard place to live.
Yeah, I mean, it's crazy. I think about it now because I lived there for a few years. I don't know if it's the same years because, again, I'm not going to math your age anymore. I'll stop saying mean things about 20-somethings, but I'm not going to math your age. But I lived in New York from 2001 to 2007.
That's right when I got there was 2007.
Right on. It's funny. I moved there right after 9/11. My family was like, "What?" I was like, "Yep, I'm going right there." It was not smart, but what are you gonna do? It was a fun time.
Yeah.
Doing theater there is really amazing, and it is a little harder to live, and it feels like an uphill battle for everything. That's why I'm so super impressed that you did so much when it comes to theater stuff, that you were able to accomplish stuff. Because I was trying to do theater too, but I feel like it was an uphill battle for every single gig that I got. It was and I was a stage manager for years. It was come on, stage managers should just be handed all the money in some of these shows. It's they're doing the whole show.
Yeah.
This guy whose name is producer literally has done none of the things. But
yeah.
It's just wild. So much stuff. The Shakespeare and going to the Pit. What was the Pit community like? People and shows, and what was the vibe? How many classes did you have to take before you could get a show? Did you produce your own shows when you were there?
So yeah, after my level 1 class, I was still in college when I took level 1, but just with the college schedule and whatnot, I really couldn't handle it and afford to keep going. So there was kind of a big break after that before I was able to go back into level 2 and whatnot. So I wasn't able to consistently stay with my fellow students, which kind of sucked. Because usually that's where you form your friendships and the teams and whatnot. My level 2 class that I took, I did become really good friends with these two guys, and we formed our little 3-prov group, and we put up our own shows for a while, and then they got through the program and they got on house teams, and I still hadn't finished my levels yet, because you have to wait till you finish all 5 levels before you audition for the house teams. But then once I got on one, I was on two really amazing house teams, and I just had the best time. I was really happy with the work we did, and hung out with those people all the time. I would be at the pit probably on average like 3 times a week. Maybe many weeks it was more than that. I'd go see shows. I'd go hang out. Yeah, I just loved it.
Hmm. Now, this one's going to take a bit of a jump here, but in my, like, what did you take from the experience of the pit and the community? And what did you take from the Charlotte Comedy Theater to help you develop your own space? Like, which parts of, we all have experiences, and then when we do our own thing, it's like, well, I learned from here, don't do this. When I learned from here, don't do that. As long as you don't mind saying, I guess, don't do that. What things do you think you learned from the 2 places you took classes?
I would say that both theaters really, I really got a lot out of it as far as like learning about improv. I think what made me want to really create my own space was how I want to use those skills and how I want to, I guess, what type of improvised theater I want to do. The pit taught me a lot about how to, build a community, how to have a curriculum, how to build up your corporate training arm, how it taught you to have a variety of different shows, and obviously it taught me a lot of things in terms of actual improv technique. What I got a lot from the Charlotte Comedy Theater where I started was just sort of that family approach to it, like really being close with your students and really caring about them. And the pit has so many people, so it's harder to have that individualized attention. But that's what I got from the Charlotte Comedy Theater, was trying to create a home as much as possible, not just a theater community, but a home. So I guess what I wanted to do was put those two things together, a structured curriculum, a structured community, structure as far as performances and whatnot, and mix that with trying to make it feel like a home where people can feel like they can be themselves and come into themselves and whatnot. So yeah, I think that's kind of where that came from.
Nice. Right on. What
Yeah.
got you back to Charlotte after New York City?
Well, like I said, I was running out of money, and and by running, I mean I ran out of it. Yeah. And so I moved back to Charlotte with the intention of leaving Charlotte. I was coming back to save up money and like head out to the West Coast, see if I tried that out for a little bit, and just circumstances that didn't happen, and ended up staying here in Charlotte, and I got back involved with the community here, and it was great to see that the improv community has been growing, and there's a lot more people in it, and there's a lot of really talented improvisers here in Charlotte. And the one thing that me and my business partner Carrie, who founded the Comedy Arts Theater Charlotte with me, we felt like was missing was a permanent home for comedy. We don't have a 24/7 space for classes, workshops, practices, performances. We're all like performing in breweries or backs of restaurants or bars or things like that. And so that was sort of the main mission of us, was we wanted to build a home where we could, create that space for the whole community.
Do you have that?
So we started Catch about two years ago, and we have been looking for a space for those 2 years. Charlotte real estate is ridiculous. It's super expensive, and the market's just crazy right now, and it's not the most friendly city for the arts. So we've struggled. We had a fairly successful Indiegogo campaign, so we have some cash on hand. It's just finding the right space. Like, we've gotten pretty far in the process. If anybody who's listening to this and wants to start their own theater and has any questions, I feel like me and my business partner Carrie are experts on this. We get so far, and then you deal with zoning, and you have to make sure your restrooms are ADA compliant. Do you have proper exits, and all those details can end up derailing potential space. Right now, we're in talks on a space, and it's the furthest we've ever gotten. We're actually talking about signing a lease maybe this week, and that's incredibly exciting. And you're actually like the first person I've told that to. So.
This episode won't come out until after the new year, so don't worry. You're not giving
Okay.
anything away.
Cool. Perfect. Hopefully, by the time people are listening to this, we are in a space.
Yeah, that'd be great.
Yeah.
That'd be great. It is a tough thing, though. I mean, I feel like every theater I've ever heard of had some sort of like random friend who was like, hey, I just happen to know this storefront, or like they walked down this street and there was a guy like, man, I'm just trying to rent this building. Like, just a bunch of random like happenstance stuff where like they've been searching forever, and then finally somebody just walks in their path and hands it to them. So it'll happen for you.
We have not met that person yet, but please send them to Charlotte if you know who they are.
It can be tough too. Like, Austin real estate is really rough. People from out of town keep coming and buying stuff for money, like for whatever you call it, investment. And then, so the whole town is owned by people that live in other cities. Super weird.
No, we have, we've talked a lot about Austin. I have unfortunately not made it out to Austin yet. I plan to. I hear great things, but I've heard from a number of people that it's pretty similar to the Charlotte market in that it's growing really rapidly, and a lot of transplants are coming there and trying to find an identity for the city and whatnot. I mean, this city is growing like crazy, and that obviously has its perks and downfalls. It's everybody's so busy in the construction world and the real estate world that they're not really interested in taking on a small project like us. So it's just been tough, but we're sticking with it, and hopefully, again, by the time this makes it to people's ears, they can come visit us in our space.
Here's an idea. The space that the Austin theater that I do most of my theater with, it's called Fallout Theater, and it's the basement or fallout shelter of the local Mason building. Check out historical buildings and see if they have a basement or a random room to rent. The Mason building that we are in has our theater in the basement and a Shakespeare theater on the third floor. Oh, cool. It's like, what?
Yeah. We the place where we're teaching some of our holding some of our practices right now is in the basement of a church. And it's just like it's those sorts of things that you gotta just hope you come across and find. But it's been rough.
I'm glad that you're still able to teach classes and build community in that way.
Yeah, unfortunately, we were at a location for a while, and they kicked us out because we were too noisy.
Oh, well.
Which,
so quiet theater usually is.
Yeah. But we were really hitting our stride. We were getting a lot of classes going. We had a lot going on. And once that happened, we've kind of been in this. We haven't really been able to offer a class since then. So right now we're just kind of focusing on practices and retaining the people that we already have. But it's been tough because our whole business model is on, teaching classes and building a curriculum. It's amazing that there's not just a room in Charlotte that we can rent for a fairly inexpensive cost to teach our classes. I mean, in like New York, there's all these rehearsal spaces everywhere and studios and stuff. It's just, I've been amazed at how difficult it's been to try to find something like that here. And It's not from not looking or asking. It's
Mm.
just Charlotte's just doesn't have a lot of empty open rooms for some reason.
I mean, yay for economy of space, I guess.
Yay? Question
It's
mark?
like it's like if every room's being used, I mean that's pretty cool. I guess.
I don't
Not
think that's the
helpful to
case.
you,
No.
but like
I
an overall.
don't try to be nice here. There's no
Sorry.
good.
I'm trying real hard.
I'm very bitter. I apologize.
May I? I'm going to use this word. Tell me how you feel about it. May I stoke your bitterness for a moment?
Stoke away.
Okay. I wanted to ask you, since you're in sort of a holding pattern, as you said, that this businessy stuff is getting in the way of you being able to do the creativity. How are you currently keeping your well full? Like, how are you keeping yourself nourished as a creative person despite all this yuckiness, bureaucratic intensity that you have to deal with? How are you keeping the well full to continue to, build this community, even in your heart?
Yeah, that's been a struggle, honestly. It's been hard. It's been a lot of trying to reevaluate things and figure out how I can put my energy into other creative things. Because once you start your own business, and if your business is a creative venture, and you get bogged down in the business aspect of it, then it, you lose some of that love and passion for it. You lose that creative outlet that you were seeking when you started it. And I put a lot of pressure into it succeeding because I also need it as a creative outlet. So it's been tough. And it's only been in the past couple of weeks or months where I've reached out for help and trying to figure out how I can fill that well a little bit more. I joined a local storytelling group, which has helped, and just trying to write more, trying to figure out a way to maybe I'm in the process of job hunting right now, so I can find something that can fulfill me financially, so I can say yes to non-paid acting gigs. I haven't done a lot of acting work or audition because a lot of it's not paid or doesn't pay well. So I want to get a job where I can make money and say yes to those creative endeavors that I haven't done in a while. It's been a rough year. I feel very creatively unfulfilled, and it's hard for somebody who's a creative, as I'm sure you could probably relate to that. If that part of you isn't being fed, then it can get pretty crazy and lonely. So I'm on the other end of that journey, I think, is trying to find ways to get back into it so I don't lose my mind.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm very much in the same boat in that I'm not performing and not doing a lot of creative stuff. I still do more than some people, but I had a baby a year and a half ago, and I've been stay at home with him. So I can't teach classes at night anymore, and I can't go to shows as much anymore. And I haven't performed in months. And it's super hard because it's kind of like when you were talking about having a business and how sometimes, especially when it's creative, if you get bogged down in the business, you can forget the reason why you did it in the first place. I feel like that applies to a whole slew of adult things. Like marriage, for instance. You're going to be married for a while, and at some point you're going to be like, fuck this. But you're not going to leave because life is like that. Like sometimes you're like, sometimes you're having a great day and your car works and you get places and when you buy stuff, your credit card works, and sometimes none of those things work. So you just got to keep moving and trying to make yourself feel better. And same with the baby. I feel bad for feeling bad because the baby's great. I mean, the baby's cool. He's awesome. But I haven't done anything creative. I mean, I've done some, like I said. I do a sketch show, and I still meet with them once a week. So that's the, last bit. But I'm by the time this airs, I will have finished that. I like decided to stop doing it because it's just too difficult to go once a week. Yeah. And it's like, ugh, what am I going to do?
Yeah.
I feel like there's got to be different ways to, I've been looking for like online classes or something. You know what I mean?
No, yeah, I've been doing similar things, like trying to figure out if there's some. Yeah, one of the things that I did too that I think is unhelpful and possibly hurtful is that once you get into that space where you feel like this is just business and it's no longer giving me that joy, you can isolate yourself from being involved in the community at all. Like I stopped going to shows. I stopped seeing theater. Because I was like, if I can't be doing it, then I just don't want to be around it. And I got in such a hole of that past couple weeks I'd try to get out of that, seeing theater a lot more, going out to see plays, supporting more improv if I can, and going to things like the symphony, or like I said, taking storyteller classes, or going to those shows. I had a friend of mine describe it in maybe a overdramatic way, but they said that I was kind of in a grieving process from being overstimulated in New York to here. Like, because I could be at improv every night of the week up there, and I haven't acclimated to not having all my senses activated at all times yet. And it's just hard for me because I want to be creative every day. And it's just hard when you get yourself in that hole to try to get yourself out of it.
People like pumping up New York like that, like whatever. You know what I mean? Like, yeah, it's great. You were able to do theater a lot, but also like don't forget, like you were in college, and also like New York is just, I don't know. New York is nothing but empty rooms. It's like, you know what I mean? Like, it's just, they're like, isn't there supposed to be something? It's not there. It's not, because everything's a front. There's just nothing but drug fronts. And so there's lots of rehearsal space. But also, like, I don't like when, you're in Charlotte, I'm in Austin. I'm sure there's plenty of people in your community and plenty of people in my community who think that, New York and LA are the end all be all. And I'm like, nope, it's just a different place with a different vibe. And you're in Charlotte because you wanted to help build this, which is why, like, yeah, right now it might not have a lot going on, but that's because you're there to build it. It's not happening because you're the person. You're the guy. Someday they'll be like, who really got Charlotte Improv going? Everybody else from Charlotte Improv right now listening to this is like, hey, man. Doesn't matter. I'm pumping you up. You're my guest. Fuck them. They didn't call me. All I'm saying is it's going to be great. Because, like, you're going to do it, and someday I'll talk to you, and you'll be like, oh, my God, I don't even have a minute. It's so busy. Don't hang up the phone with me. I gotta go on. Gotta go on stage right now. Click. I know phones don't click anymore, but you'd say click before you hung up.
I still say click. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, it's an improviser thing.
I think your comment about New York was something that it took me a while to like. Because even when I left New York, it's like I said, I was coming back to Charlotte so I could then move to LA. It's like, oh, well, it's either one of those two places. And even though sometimes like you feel like, New York had all this and it was so much more and all that whatnot, but it's so true that you can, you can take some control and responsibility and try to create what you feel like's not there in your community, or look a little harder. And because there are so many creative people here in town, and there are lots of different things to do. It's just a matter of getting over that idea that I'm in the wrong place, and it took me a while to kind of get out of that mindset. It still lingers there a little bit, but I no longer think that this can't happen in Charlotte, or I have to be in one of these places. It's nice to not think that anymore.
Oh,
and it's nice
you're
to
way
sort
nicer
of.
than me. I was actually just like, fuck those rich, fancy people. That's pretty much what it was.
Well,
It was like,
yeah,
fuck New York. They don't know what they're doing. They got paywalls in front of everything. Oh, do you want a show? Hey, oh, do you want to be on a troupe? Oh, are you not famous? Then you can't be in the lineup of shows in a week. Both cities, New York and LA. I'm calling you out. Famous people, get a television show. Get off of my improv stage.
yeah,
Right? I'm
buddy.
sorry. You took classes, move forward. Or start your own theater. Like, you could do 3 nights a week and make like $1 million at a theater, rich people. Come on.
Or give us money so we can open our own theaters. That'd be nice.
Or come to your fancy one-person show in our small towns and give us the money.
Yeah.
Come on, rich people. Step it up.
I hope they're listening.
I think this went weirdly. This went in a weird political way. Like, now I feel like we're in Les Mis. I don't know. It's weird. That being said,
I dream the dream of time gone by.
Exactly. You get it.
I know.
Where our cities are worth it, and living in a town that is not so high status like New York and LA actually means that you can get work done in a real way. Like, a lot of the stuff, like, I talked to a couple of people in New York, and they're talking about shows that they're doing, and they're like legit trying to get it like reviewed or whatever. And I get the cities, believe me, I've talked to people where in their city, like, if you don't get your show reviewed, people aren't going to come see it. So I understand if like a small city has that vibe going. Dig it. But New York and LA, like, come on. Like, do you really think the New York Times is coming to your improv show? Just do a show. Have a good time. Enjoy yourself. This is so not a big deal. And also pretty sure, sorry everyone, I'm going to drop a truth bomb, and it's not going to affect you and I because we're settled in our nice towns and we're not trying to become like the next lead in Superstore. But like, nobody's looking at improv schools anymore, guys. I'm sorry. The TV executives, no, they're not coming. You know why? There's too many of us now.
Yeah, it's too much.
We're like cockroaches. They can't be sure we're all good. There's no way.
Most of us aren't.
You're right, most of us aren't. But that's not the point anymore. And that's the beauty. Truly.
Yeah.
It's not about being famous or even, to a certain extent, creating comedy. Improv is a performance technique that can be comedy or dramatic. And it has a, like, life-affirming, like, it like literally does something to your like body and brain that makes you better.
Yeah.
Like, makes you have empathy. It allows you to really deeply live in another person's shoes. Like, more than actors that have to read lines. When you're reading words, there's a separation. Those words are your buffer. Not when you're making it up.
Yeah. It's, I guess there was part of me that when I went up to New York to go to acting school and then took classes at the Pit and got on the shows, that it's like, oh, I'm sure Lorne Michaels will be here any day now and I'll be famous and rich and all that stuff and whatnot. I'm sure there was part of me
2008 probably. I mean,
yeah, I'm sure there was part of me that felt that energy in that time in that community, and now, I mean, it's just, there's nothing better than starting a level 1 class and seeing people sitting in a circle, terrified and unsure and uncomfortable. And 3 hours later, they're smiling and they're opening up. And I mean, it's just the greatest thing. Ever since I started like teaching it full time and starting the theater company, I mean, it's just amazing to see people's lives change. People come into themselves and feel like they have a voice. I mean, there's really, I can't ask for anything more than that. It would be wonderful to be able to make that a living and get paid for it and all that stuff. And yes, we're working on that, but that's the takeaway for me now is I know that what we're doing is it's making a difference in people's lives, and it's cliche, but it's so wonderful. It's so true, and it's exactly like you said. Improv just makes things and people better.
Yeah. You don't want to get involved in the whole competition of trying to be famous.
Yeah.
Oh, I just had a good thing. What was it? You don't want to be the shiniest sheep. You want to be the shepherd.
Yeah.
Boom.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah. I'm going to embroider that on something.
My mind is blown right now. It's blown.
Sheep metaphors for days. That's what I provide to the world.
And don't you let anybody ever tell you that that's not a valid thing to provide, okay?
Oh my God, you're lucky I didn't make a Sesame Street joke, all right? This is the comedy that I'm watching. Oh man. Though it's pretty tight, not gonna lie. Not hating it. It's pretty awesome when you can count the 3 beats of a joke on Sesame Street. Love it.
And when you count the 3 beats, do you count them as count? 1 beat.
I would really frighten my child, I think, if I did that every single scene.
Hey, kids need to be frightened at an early age.
God. They're already pretty frightened.
I'm not a parent, if that wasn't apparent.
You'll really try hard not to frighten your child. Don't try too hard, because you're right. They do need to be frightened. Like, if you keep them sequestered without, like, noise or whatever, they're going to be freaked out by a lot of stuff. My baby gets freaked out by noises he hears every day. Literally in every direction around my house, there are men who work on cars. Like, on both sides of me and in front of me, there's guys who, like, just are in front of their house, like, with a wrench, you know, and whatever, making noise.
They're not doing
all
anything,
night.
by the way.
But then
They're
they're
just
revving
banging
their
the wrench
engine
up.
and they're playing the music real loud. And occasionally one of them will rev the engine so loud that it freaks out the baby. And I want to be like, hey, you remember the last 14 times that happened? It's just the neighbor. It's fine. Like, part of me wants to just take him over there so he can watch it. To be like, see, look at him. Yeah, that's him revving the engine.
You should take him to an adult improv class. That'll get him grown up pretty quickly.
I'm not going to lie. I actually have considered taking him to a show. Like, not taking him to a show to see it, but trying to get us, like, there's a variety show you can sign up for. And I thought about doing me and the baby improv.
I'd watch it.
I'm so glad this isn't coming out until after January, because if I do it, it's going to be really funny if this is where the idea start to brew. But yeah, somebody mentioned to me that they thought it would be funny to, like, it's almost like, you know, bilingual improv where neither of the people speak the other language, you know? Because he doesn't say anything. He doesn't have words. He's like, yeah. And I do it all day with him anyway, so I might as well just do it in front of people. I'm having conversations with him like, what? Are you kidding me right now? She did not just say that. That's how I work my creative muscles. Yeah, we'll see how it goes. The only problem is, can I keep my baby awake late enough to be in a show?
That's a solid question. Maybe do like a 4 p.m. show. Those are pretty popular.
Yeah, people love those.
Yeah.
Big fan. People are always like, hey, boss, I've got to leave work 2 hours early to go to an improv show. And the boss is like, that sounds totally acceptable. Approved.
Yeah. I don't know what Austin's like, but that's what it's like.
Yeah. I mean, Austin is magical. You said you hadn't been here. You should come because it's magical. It's one of those places that, like, when you show up, it like makes you feel like you are supposed to be here, which is why everybody moves here. It's like sunny and nice, and there's like hippies dancing around, right, all the time. And there's a certain level of kitsch where you're like, oh, I get it. And then there's also fancy food, and attractive people. So that's helpful. That's helpful. Also, there's literally so much to do everywhere that it's impossible to do everything. Like, I don't think I could. I haven't been to a third of the Austin tourist attractions. I don't even know where certain major landmarks are. There's too much to do.
Well, I hope you accomplish it all by the time that this airs.
It'd be a hell of a bucket list. Just like me and the baby Instagramming every single like Austin landmark. All right, let's do it. I don't know what Austin landmarks there are. It's like the statue of Willie Nelson and like, you know, the big hole in the ground that like sometimes is filled with water and sometimes it's just a big craggly hole because it's a desert area. Oops.
Well, you've sold me. I'm on my way.
Oh my God, it's so great. Oh, it's wet now. I mean, it's raining right now. All the lakes look like lakes. Don't worry. When you come to visit, give me a call. I'll let you know if it's desert time where it's like, oh, no, it looks like Mad Max right now. Don't come here. That's real. That's when people don't move. Nobody's moving here in July. Nobody comes here to visit on a July 4th trip and then goes like, oh, gosh, guys. Woo! I was convinced. You know, it was 110 in the shade at midnight. It was amazing. Yeah, no, nobody's doing that. Absolutely.
I love that midnight shade.
It's just the idea. It's hot at night. Like, it's so crazy how it's hot at night. Like, I'm like, where? I thought when the sun, but I guess it's still so. Why is it so hot? Yeah, it'll be so late, and you're like, how is the air still solid? It's terrible.
Yeah, I'm definitely not going to.
Does Charlotte have regular, like 4 seasons?
It does, but it's gotten less and less. Like, we kind of skip over fall, which sucks because that's my favorite. We're kind of. Oh. It was like 90 degrees a week ago, and then this morning it was 38.
Oh.
But it got up to 70, so it does have all 4 seasons, but summer and winter tend to be the main 2.
Sure. What's the big? So there's lots of people moving to Charlotte, though, and it's a hot spot for real estate. Why are people moving there? I just told you how Austin is magical. How's Charlotte magical?
It's the number 2 banking city in the country. Huh?
Oh, does that mean that's where all the money is?
Apparently. I haven't seen any of it yet.
I understand what banking is.
Okay. I don't.
There's like 2 really big vaults.
The only thing I know about banking is that when my bank account numbers turn a different color, I should get worried. That's about it.
I didn't know bank account numbers had color.
Well, if your account balance is black, you're good. If it hits red, that's a different thing. Yeah.
I see. I understand. I went way more philosophical than that.
Sure.
Whoa.
As I would expect one to. Charlotte is a banking town, and it's got a lot of breweries.
You know, I'm not going to lie to you. Banking and brewing definitely are industries that require a lot of rooms.
Yeah. Yeah, that's really it.
I'm super sorry.
No.
See if
there's
you could,
a brewery.
Oh my God, is there a bank vault somewhere you could do improv in? Dude.
Wow.
Dude.
Call it the vault. That'd be pretty cool.
Mm-hmm. Some pun about stealing. It'd be fun.
Yeah. I'm all about puns, so.
Everybody loves a pun. That's how you sell comedy, guys. Come on.
Yeah, people who say they're above puns are just bad at puns. That's my philosophy.
If you meet a person and they scoff like hard at a pun, tell them to move to New York or LA immediately. That's where those people go.
Yeah. That's why I had to leave, honestly.
It's true. It's true. There's a pun limit. And when you reach it, they come and find you. Excuse me, sir. We're going to need you to cross a bridge, any bridge. We need you out of the 5 boroughs. Oh my God, so funny. Hey, speaking of boroughs, which borough did you live in? Did you live in Manhattan?
I lived in Manhattan for during my freshman year. Then I lived on the magical, mythical Roosevelt Island for my sophomore year. And then I lived in
I didn't know
Manhattan.
you could live on Roosevelt Island.
I don't think you can.
What do you mean you don't think you can? There's a story you're telling me now. What do you mean? Did you live on a tent?
I lived our dorm was on Roosevelt Island, and I had to take that magical tram ride to school every day.
Oh my God!
Yeah,
I've seen that tram like 1,000 times.
Yeah,
I always thought that was like workers. Like I thought it was just coal mining or something.
It's a predominantly coal miner population on Roosevelt Island.
Just one building that's students and then just all mines everywhere else.
Yeah. Now, the truth is that on Roosevelt Island there was a dorm for our school and another school. So there were a lot of 18-year-olds and young 20-somethings. But there was also a hospital that was predominantly for people who needed prosthetics. So
I'm sorry.
It was college students and amputees was pretty much the main population of Roosevelt Island when I lived there.
It sounds like an amazing beach movie. Is that wrong? Everything I said was wrong. I'm so sorry. By the way, having a hospital on having a hospital on an island where a bunch of 20-somethings are makes total sense. But it's surprising that the hospital would be like, but we're going to have a different focus.
Yeah.
Oh, wow. Talk about really making it difficult too. Like amputees have to take the tram ride?
No, they never left.
I'm sorry?
I never saw an amputee off the island. I feel like this part, I feel bad now.
No, now I'm concerned that they're taking them inside the hospital and they're never leaving. Now it's more of a horror story than it is any sort of sad commentary.
Remember how you asked me about that book question? I have that same experience with Roosevelt Island now. Looking back, I think I was on some sort of amputee prison island.
I think so.
Which is also the name of my improv team.
Oh, that sounds terrible. I feel so bad for all these people who never left Roosevelt Island. All they did was lose an arm or something. They can keep going. If I've learned anything from every single war movie I've ever watched, there's life after amputating a limb.
There is. I don't understand Roosevelt Island. I don't remember my time there very much, but
I see. Mm-hmm. A lot of drunkenness. I see. There were probably a lot of,
Nope.
amputee exits you just missed.
You might be right. Looking back on it, I clearly was a mistake.
I didn't invent the amputee thing, but man, I've gone down a weird rabbit hole. I feel like we're being offensive, but we're not.
I'm just telling the facts.
I don't
had
know.
nothing wrong with any of these people. It was just a weird mix of people.
Also, yeah. Mm-hmm. How big is that? I imagined that Roosevelt Island was you could walk around it quickly.
Yeah, it's very tiny.
If you walked along the edge, done.
Yeah. It wasn't that long at all. It was, I don't know what, I still can't believe I lived there for a year. It's very weird.
It's so wild. What was the other school that had the dorm there?
I'm pretty sure it was Hunter College.
That's so crazy.
Yeah.
Hunter College.
And then I luckily got to live back in Manhattan after that for many years. And then my last year there, I lived in Weehawken, New Jersey.
Wait, is Roosevelt Island not considered part of the borough of Manhattan?
It is, but it's
Okay.
it's not.
No, I get that it's a separate island, but like in the same way that like Queens and Long Island are actually the same thing, except for one's this part and one's that part. Like,
Sure.
you know.
Right, but Roosevelt Island is its own island. So
Yeah.
it's not touching any part of Manhattan.
Imagine what the zoning for the island is. That'd be weird. No rehearsal spaces there.
None.
No.
Not a great improv scene.
I don't know. You never know. I bet you the hospital employees could use an improv workshop. Just in general. I mean, like, they have, like, a sad... People who, you know, like, nurses and stuff, like, they have a tough job.
It's tough.
You know? Working... I can't imagine. People who, like, go through all the schooling to, like, work at a hospital, and then it turns out that, like, hospitals are just a bunch of bureaucratic BS that they have to deal with. It's like, oh, I'm so sorry.
Yeah.
It's like, you're just trying to help people, and we're literally just putting roadblocks in front of you every minute. How do you feel about it?
Certainly something... God. I wouldn't do.
So, oh my God. So as a final note, I want to ask you one last theater thing. What's the project that you are most excited about, either in the future or one that you just finished? Some sort of positive, you know, theater thing that you're interested in or very recently saw, even though it was based on your information, you haven't seen anything in a little bit, but is there anything that you've seen that's maybe been a bright light in a dark hallway?
Yeah, I'll tell you about a project that we developed at Catch that I think is just amazing, and we've done a couple shows on it, and we plan on doing a lot more, so I'm excited about the growth of this project. We partnered with the Charlotte Storytellers, and we put on a show where we give the storytellers a theme, and then they go off and write, practice, and rehearse these true personal stories, and we don't hear them, and then we get together for a show, and they do a story, and we do improv that's inspired off of that story. And it's just been such a really wonderful experience.
Thanks for listening to Yes But Why Podcast. Check out all our episodes on yesbutwhypodcast.com or check out all the content on our network, HC Universal, at hcuniversalnetwork.com.